Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Thursday, November the 7th, 2024, and today's topic will be sketching a guitar from life. Now, you don't have to use a guitar, you can use whatever, but I feel like pick something that is similar in complexity. I feel like a guitar is kind of medium complexity to draw, and yeah, if you're returning, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. And I sketch and post every day, and I set 5-minute timers as we sketch to stay focused and build a sketching habit. So I'll go ahead and start a 5-minute timer now. So part of this is starting on a blank page, which I talked about yesterday. And for this exercise, I mean, obviously do it however and use whatever. I'm going to be using like sketching and drawing and art principles. But what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to create like a picture frame. So I'm going to just freehand, and I'm not going to fill like the whole page with this sketch. And I made some videos about how to draw like a straight line. So that's not perfectly straight. So do like a starting point and an end point, and then just use the like a kind of like your whole arm, but like outwards. And I'm only doing this because you could just make the line more wobbly if you wanted, or use a ruler, of course. So yeah, just like there's your beginning and that's your end point, and just draw a line to it like that. And if it's a little off, it's okay. But yeah, it's good to turn the paper. So I'm just gonna, part of this is because I want some space around for other studies that I'm gonna do for the next videos. So this will take a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. And then same with this. Here's the beginning point, and pick an end point, kind of make adjustments. So yeah, off to the side here, we'll do some other studies. But for today, we're just going to focus on this little picture frame. And I am using my iPod to record the audio, which I do think it is an improvement. I think it'll work for now. So I could just draw this. I already know how to draw, so I wanted the video to be helpful for, I made another video called Beginner, Intermediate, and Advanced, so I'm kind of thinking about that as we go forward. So now that you have like so this would be a like vertically formatted picture frame. It can be good. I think it helps if you're, I just think in general it helps. You can also use a pencil. I'm just going to use a pen. So that's just my preference. So I put these little hash marks to kind of let me know where the, basically like where the center would be. So that's like the center of the picture frame, and that's just like the midpoint, and I'm just estimating. But that's basically, again, you can use a ruler if you want. So part of this is about composition, and you could try to compose something, but since this is from life, So I have my guitar set up off to the side, and it's not even really set up that well. You could set it up better, meaning that you could have it more in front, but I'm not gonna, like, my room is not big enough to kind of do all that. So it's just kind of off to the side, which isn't the most convenient because I have to look over, but it works. So some things to keep in mind: the lighting, obviously, may be something okay. I mean, we're not actually going to think too much about that today. Also, just kind of like the setup of it. I have it set up to where I can see the whole guitar, and and then next would be like the composition. I think it's good to start with a border if you are going to kind of think about composition, but I mean, you don't have to, and we'll do other videos that don't have all this, but there's some things I wanted to share. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. Yeah, the first 5 minutes tends to be warming up and setting up things and kind of explaining like the project. So yeah, I'm going to use a guitar. You can use, again, something a little bit more, something not so simple, but complex enough, like a guitar. Meaning it's got like several different shapes and forms and details. So when you have a picture here, I know I'm not able to fit all of it. I'll just move this around, but so if you have your picture frame, then you probably don't want well, what I like about a guitar is that since I have it set up to be like it's standing up, even if I were to draw it like in the center, it would be kind of off center because it's like there's an angle to it. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, compositionally, you've got, if this is the center, I mean, you probably don't want to center it exactly. And since my life drawing setup, the guitar is not like ideal, so I'm going to be making up some things, but I'm going to use the guitar from life. So with all of that said, I want kind of the top of it to be like kind of over here. You can see that. So I kind of want the top of it to be here, and I want the bottom of the guitar to be kind of like over here. So at this stage, I'm not going to worry about how the guitar looks. I'm just composing and I'm using a pretty light, so I have some videos about that too, about how to hold a pencil or a pen. So like I'm holding it pretty far back and keeping it pretty light, not putting very much pressure. So I'm just going to kind of set up. Again, you can use a pencil. Now, if you, excuse me. So if you are using a pen and even a pencil, but you don't have to erase. I'm doing it light enough to where when I start to go in with more definite lines, it's going to make up for the sketchier lines. So now that I do this, so this is for me to compose the picture. So I'm going to have the guitar be kind of like this. And I'm going to make, it's not exact, so I'll make up some things. And there's all kinds of ways to approach art. This part of it is to learn how to draw from imagination, but also drawing from life uses observational skills, and so that's also important to be able to observe. And then what happens is when you draw from imagination, you're still observing, but it's going to be in your mind. You're imagining it. So this is the middle. as you can see, of this composition. I'll draw a center line here. And there's different ways to measure. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but you can use like this. That's kind of a separate topic there, but basically you can use this, but your arm has to be the same distance from your body. You can sometimes just kind of use your fingers. I'm just going to do that. Basically, it's halfway. So from like the body of the, right here, it's about half. And keep the lines pretty loose. And I can see that there is some kind of form to it. So it's not, we're not looking straight on. So there is kind of a box shape. Like that. Now you might want to figure out, well, I would just guess how wide this is. If you really want to know, it's less than half. Like you could, if you really want to know the measurement, like you can measure just to be sure. And what I mean is it's more rectangular than, so if this is half right here, then let's say this is half. And then it's less than that. And you can measure that like with your finger, like, or some other way. So it's more rectangular, or skinnier. And then the next thing, so the reason that you can kind of just, because you're sketching and you're just being sketchy, so it's okay. And that's fine. I mean, it's a style, it's an approach. The next thing would be, so there is some form, and it might be good to figure out like the perspective. So for example, I'll use this corner where you can see the like the sides. Use that as kind of a gauge of where the perspective might be. And then down here, it kind of goes like that. So I would use where the form turns. And then I would also kind of think about like how thick, again, just observing, using observation, like how thick the side is. And then use this as a guide so that it looks like where it starts to curve in isn't exactly midway, it's a little bit above. So use this as a guide to like the boundary. So notice I'm being pretty sketchy so that whenever I go in with a more definite line like this, it looks okay. And then like a more finished drawing you would do separately, you would do in another way, because this is just in a sketchbook anyway. So, and it's really about practicing observational skills. So you find that like it's kind of thin, so I'm just gonna thicken it up a little here, and that's okay. So yeah, you can kind of just sculpt the contour. So now that you have this much, you can use that as the basic guide off of everything else. So now we go into the like the idea of, yes, you are drawing from life, but you're also drawing a picture. So you're gonna use both, and ultimately you want your picture to look correct, even if it's off on the, so you might find like some other things that are off as you're looking on the from life. but you're going to make your drawing look correct. So that's kind of an important thing to understand. So it's a mix of looking at what's going on in the subject, but also looking at your drawing. And I find that that's the best approach, because when you're drawing from imagination, you're not going to be looking at anything. So this is practice for that, and it is studying. Now, if you're drawing something, so this is a study, and it's a life drawing, and it's being approached as a study, which is probably the best way to approach a life drawing. I find that to draw from imagination, probably the most important thing is to understand proportion, and to understand shape is probably the main things for me, to draw from imagination. So this 5 minutes is winding down. We'll continue. So now that I have this much, then I can use this as a gauge for other things. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. So for example, the sound hole. So I'm still using this as the proportions here. See, I'm using that to guide the overall proportion. So the sound hole is sort of, I'll use this as the gauge. So it's kind of right there. You can kind of figure out, like, since it's circular, you might want to create a square. So this is the center of the form. So you know that it's going to go in right here. So you're going to replicate the other side. But it's not exact because it is in perspective. So it's not going to be like it's going to be angled. I did mention that this will be over a few videos, because there's this part, but then I also wanted to talk about how to do value studies and how to do color studies. And you could have like a whole reference page where you can then paint or do an illustration, and it'll be from life, but also have a lot of room for stylizing, but it'll be also has a lot of accuracy, because you're studying from life. So that's like the general proportion, the sides where it goes in. Then you can do, you can figure out like the proportion of the whole. So it's about like this, but it's kind of a square shape ish. But yeah, this is just find like the center part, and then the circle will go in here. And that's how you can keep it in proportion. And then you've got little details that you can kind of sketch in real quick, and just use what you've drawn as as a guide. So for example, this, I believe it's the picking board, where the pick hits. So I do 5 minute, I play guitar for at least 5 minutes. I practice and I set a timer, so I use the same principles. So I'm just sketching in, again, using once you establish certain, so yeah, you're using your own drawing as like so you're looking at the live drawing, and you notice, okay, this is about here, and then you use your own drawing as the guide. So like you look at the life drawing or the subject, and then you look and see, okay, this is about this far. Now this applies to not only the guitar, it applies to anything. And when you're drawing from life, a lot of times it's better not to think about like what it is that you're drawing, but rather stuff like this is as far, like the distance between this one, like where does the circle, like it's about right here where it goes in. So that's the importance of life drawing, is you don't care about the anatomy of it. What you're caring about are the lines and the shapes and the proportions. And then when you're drawing from imagination, because in your imagination, like the image, which is why it's called imagination, is not, there's not, like, it could be called anything since words are just made up. So it could be called, depending on the language, I mean, it's still the same thing. So it's still the same line, shape, form. So we've got that, and we'll do the strings later. It might be good to kind of, like, we're not going to worry about like the values at all, but if there's forms, it might be good to kind of think about. So for example, it's empty, like there's a form in there, but it's based upon the shadow, so I'm not going to worry about that. This would be good, the neck area. So that's 5 minutes. We'll start another one. So this is the top of the guitar, and it would be good to figure out like the width here. I would eyeball it. So I had already drawn in this form where it attaches right here. So when you get to this part, it would be good to kind of just eyeball like it's about this wide, and just kind of fix the perspective in your drawing. So yeah, I would just figure out it's about like that much. It kind of flattens out a little. Just kind of adjust this shape here. Like, so just look at the subject and then kind of estimate the width. But it's not all the like, it's not the same width, I don't think. It's pretty close enough. So we're gonna draw a straight line, kind of like the way we did the border. And since everything is pretty sketchy like this, like you don't have to draw, like use a ruler or something, because then it will make everything look more crooked. However, you also don't want it to be too crooked. So we'll use the same technique. So just figure out, this is not in camera. I'll just go this way. Yeah, figure out, if it helps, you might want to just do like, give yourself some like marks here, like little guidelines. It's up to you how you want to do it. I'm just going to go kind of like this, like lightly. And I'll just kind of lightly do that. And then there's a little bit of depth here, so I'll just kind of, again, lightly, sort of like shading, like starting to get some shading. So when you do this, it starts to imply like the lighting, but we're not going to really focus on that, because that's what the value study, this is the drawing part of it. Then next, so we've already figured out like this, the major proportion. Then let's look at just this area. It looks like, let's see, let's just find the halfway mark right here. So what I'm doing is I'm going to just find like where I think the halfway mark, so like this to this, and then I'm going to divide those. And so I'll just make that, and then figure out, like, see, if you divide it into smaller parts, it's easier to figure out, okay, this part is the smaller, is it called the headstock? I might be making that up. and then you can figure out, kind of comes out a little, like the width. So that's how I did that part, and then the rest of it is okay. Like, if you really want to figure out it looks like the middle of, well, then now that you have that, then maybe this is like the neck area. It looks like I would do a more detailed, take some time to figure out like the frets. But those are details, just like the strings and stuff. But this would be like the main outline of it. And it already looks pretty okay. And then, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't worry about I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I wouldn't worry about the shading right now for this video, but it's kind of up to you, like how much detail you want to put. Like, for example, I've got like a capo, I've got like a string, but you may not need that. It's up to you. But yeah, in the next video we will we'll do some value studies here, and it'll be good to kind of figure out like how to take this and make, so just to kind of get started, I would do, you could get a jump start if you're an overachiever and do a value study if you want, or you can wait. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up, but like one thing I did want to talk about was, yeah, I want these videos to, you can either follow along day by day or just skip around and just sketch whatever seems interesting, like use it as inspiration. And also, if you're just wanting something to listen to, I want it to be listenable, so that even if you're drawing something completely different, you can still listen. So just to kind of get set up for tomorrow, like we'll do some value studies, we'll do some color studies, maybe not tomorrow, like I think tomorrow will be the value studies, and I have some thoughts about all of that, but I'm gonna add like the little details, the strings, like the frets, but that takes, you have to just kind of take some time to figure that out. It's not that difficult, but yeah, that'll be it for today, and thanks for joining me for our daily sketching routine. And if you like these videos, please support the channel, and I appreciate that. And until next time, keep on sketching.